Yeah, three.
It's probably some technicality where it's tenderloin cuts or something, but it was good.
Like when you go into a restaurant, it's Kobe beef sliders. I'm like, nobody's making hamburgers out of Kobe beef, especially not sliders.
Not for $9.99 at happy hour.
Hey everyone, with the Thanksgiving holiday coming up next week, we're going to have next week's episode be released on Wednesday, so you have something new to listen to with all those holiday travels. Today's episode is a bit long-winded at times, but hang around towards the end where we give some ideas in case you're struggling with some of those Christmas gift ideas. We also have 5 sponsor slots available remaining in 2017, so if you're looking to get your message and your product in front of 10,000 whiskey geeks right before Christmas time, this is your chance. Send us an email at theduo, THEDUO, @bourbonpursuit.com. We're currently at 123 awesome reviews on iTunes, and we can't thank you all enough for taking the time to write them. And if you find yourself bored during your travels, please just take the time to write one, and we continue this onward trajectory that we're working with. In addition, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to need as many of you as possible to fill out a survey for us, so we continue to grow the show even further. It's simple information and more about your preference in buying bourbon. Who knows? We may even do a giveaway for that as well. Because honestly, who just doesn't love free stuff? As always, support us on Patreon because it keeps this puppy rolling. patreon.com/bourbonpursuit. With that, enjoy this week's episode.
From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixir's Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com. Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof, and the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com, and you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long. Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single-barrel bourbon to try with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21. Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com. and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order.
Play Whiskey Wednesday Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you can win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select $2 at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast, the official podcast of bourbon, the number one podcast of bourbon. Back again with the 14th edition of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. This is always a fan favorite. Kenny, your Bourbon Pursuit host here. Ryan can't be here tonight, but we've got almost a full quorum of the roundtable, plus a special guest that we've had on the show before. And this is going to be a pretty good episode because we're going to touch a little bit of topics. As usual, we're going to hit in some of the recent news. Carrie's going to wow us with a live review of something that he has been waiting to share because everybody knows how much that, I don't know, maybe we kind of give Diageo a lot of crap, but this is going to be his night to see if they can redeem themselves a little bit. And then, we're getting to the holidays as well. And so we're definitely going to talk about, what are some of those things that either would be good gifts to give to your that person that loves bourbon in your life, or maybe like that's something that just we want and we're just putting it out there for ourselves, and maybe we'll get a special fan mail of a UPS package, coming on our doorsteps. But let's go ahead and go around the horn. First, I'm going to let Nick take over from here. So, Nick, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, thanks. Well, 14. This is number 14.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? If you take this and we do these every 3 weeks, I mean, we're hitting on damn near a year now.
Wow. Well, my name's Nick from Breaking Bourbon. Find us online at breakingbourbon.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Breaking Bourbon. Check out the release calendar. A lot going on this month, and we're actually getting ready to kind of redo our best of list. So you'll start to see some kind of redos of what we got this week, and then we're going to be rolling out some new ones in the upcoming weeks. So we got a lot of work behind the scenes, but we're going to be updating the site a lot. So check us out.
It's good stuff right there, Breaking Bourbon.
Absolutely.
One of the greats.
So let's go ahead. Everybody, we've had Max on the show before. It was a roundtable or two ago. And so I want to say, Max, welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back. As you said, my name's Max. I run Superfly Bourbon Club with my best friend, Michael. And I'm big in Tampa Bay Whiskey Society. So if you're in the Tampa or even general Florida area, definitely look us up. We have, honestly, now it's more than one event a month. Things have been kind of busy. So it's a fun time to be around. And once again, thanks for having me on, Kenny. It's always fun to be here.
Absolutely. Glad you can make it. And since Carrie just moved out of the window real quick, we'll move on over to Blake. I think he does that. He does that on purpose. You know that, right?
He loves being last.
What's to build the suspense?
I don't know this, but Blake lives in the Everglades. And so somewhere in the middle of Florida, like they have, satellite internet, and he has to go to Walmart to get a new router every so often. So you got
Alligator just took out his Ethernet cable right there.
Yeah, they chomped at it. A coconut knocked out his wireless, so don't blame him. So this is Carrie from Suburbia, SUBOURBIA.com. I am most active on Twitter. My handle is @bourbon_gamer. That's where I spend most of my days, on the playground, making all the plays. I do blog from time to time. I kind of go in waves. Right now, the low tide has been settled in for a couple months, but the tide's coming back, baby. I also run North Atlanta Whiskey Society. It's a break-off of whiskey drinkers in Atlanta. So you can see our most recent pick was a 12-year Smooth Ambler, North Atlanta Whiskey Society. So you actually won't see a 12-year because I don't think they have any more of them. But that's keeping me busy. And really, I just follow these other guys and ride off their coattails.
I mean, has Atlanta really gotten that big where you guys have had to break off and had a northern? I mean, is there also a southern and eastern and western?
No, we don't care about any other parts of the city. But Atlanta's unique in that nobody really lives in Atlanta itself. You kind of live on the suburbs, either north. Used to be pretty much north and east. Now a lot of people are moving west and south. So Atlanta is a huge city. If you've ever been here, I mean, for me to travel into the city of Atlanta is about 40-minute drive. So with traffic. So it's a fairly large city. And we decided just to get there's a lot of bourbon drinkers up this way, up on the north side. So we started from there. Of course, we let anybody in if they pay us enough money. So,
how big are you guys now?
We're at like just 105.
That's still pretty good because I think the problem is like when you get like, I think ABS or Atlanta Bourbon Society, you get like 500 or 600 people there, right?
Yeah.
So if you're buying a barrel, it's going to become like, well, maybe like one bottle for every 2 people, right? So not everyone gets a chance.
Dude,
And
Tampa
also,
Bay.
Sorry, I was gonna say you also have to be O blood type to make it in, just in case. So we try to limit a lot of different factors, but it's fun.
The universal donor or the?
Yes, we can take all the blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Blake, welcome back. Let's go ahead and let you introduce yourself again.
All right. I'm Blake from Bourboner.com. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, BOURBONR.
And as everybody knows, it is the site that Carrie is trolling on all the time. So you can always find it there too.
I got to tell you, I think Bourbon R has stepped up its game a little bit. There's another page, Bourbon Info Exchange, that I feel like has taken the tide of Newbieland USA. Bourbon R's moved up into like the
you can't be dead last.
It's that stratosphere.
Oh man, it's been a few weeks of deleting stupid posts and not stupid posts, but it's just like, hey, use the search function. There's really good information in here, but people don't want to see the exact same question asked 100 times.
But
it's not your personal shopping.
You're willing to help a lot of people,
What's that?
You're willing to help a lot of people, which maybe is why.
Yeah. And I think that's, a lot of people's complaints about the group where when you have 13,000 people, you're just going to have some newbies and that kind of stuff. So you kind of coach people along, but at some point you got to cut it off because then you start losing people who are interested. So yeah,
I think that's
slowly growing, slowly progressing.
I think that's probably one of the inherent problems that Facebook has versus like old school bourbon forums, like Straight Bourbon and stuff like that, is like nothing's indexed, nothing is easily searchable. Like maybe that are people just lazier. I don't know. But yeah, you do get a lot of repeat questions that happen in all these forums. How many times a year do we have to see a new Black Maple Hill bottle out there and somebody says, should I buy this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's probably at least once a month. Right. And,
more than that.
Yeah. So I think it's a flaw in the Facebook thing, because you could definitely, if you had Straight Bourbon or something like that, everything's indexed and like everybody just knows, like those forum boards, like you always know to search first before go ahead and opening up a new thread. They
did change the search function like 2 months ago, and it always defaults to most recent, which is always irrelevant. And you have to switch it to latest. And then I still don't think it's easy to look through stuff. I think the old way that they had it was a lot easier.
Facebook it's even worse on your phone now.
Yeah, Facebook likes to keep you on your toes. So they almost want you to not know that, so you post anyway and you do more talking. I don't know. I feel like I don't see a lot of "should I buy this" post though on the Bourboner Facebook group. I mean, there seem
I'm deleting all day long.
Are you? There you go.
No, I try. If it's somebody who's like brand new, and it's a legitimate comment, I try not to. But at first, there was a group I think that just thought it was fun to use the same joke over and over again. It would be like an old bottle of Elmer T. Lee or something. Is, hey, this bottle looks different. Should I buy it? I'm like, okay. Like it was funny 6 months ago when somebody did it. The 23rd time, it's not as funny as okay. Yeah, there's trolling and then there's being creative and entertaining, and you got to either be creative and entertaining with the trolls or it gets deleted. If it's just dumb, it's deleted.
Yeah, now it's getting into that time of the season when people are posting pictures of Van Winkle bottles and BTAC bottles and saying, "Oh, last one on the shelf," and then people are always asking, "Well, where is it? Like, tell me, is there any more?" But thankfully, there's a law, or not a law. There's a rule in our local group that says if you have to like share the knowledge unless it's Van Winkle or BTAC. You don't have to actually share anything at that rate because nobody wants you to take their honey hole, right? So
yeah, I was gonna say I like the don't ask, don't. We have that kind of unwritten rule with our group where we'll share, hey, what we got, and you just don't ask where it is. You can give up that information if you want to, but otherwise, I'm not going to be like, hey, how about you tell me where you bought that? Not going to happen.
Our local group has almost 1,100 people in it, so it's ridiculous, right? There's just there's hounds and vultures everywhere.
Tampa Bay Whiskey Society, I think we just broke 1,500.
Wow.
So it's the same way. Like, the delivery schedule changed at the local stores, and like 3 days later, everybody knew about it.
It's crazy how much power the groups have too.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just a catch-22 sometimes.
Yeah.
But,
like
a lot of
22 bottles of something limited at a local store that everybody knows about and 1,500 members of the group. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think you gave a good example last week, Carrie, of when people were waiting around for a special delivery that somebody put on their Facebook news feed, and then they show up, there's like 30 people, and it was only like EHT barrel proof or something like that.
Yeah.
It was single barrel. And,
yeah.
Well, and the owner never said we're getting anything good. He just said good stuff will be on the truck on Friday, and everyone assumed it was George T. Stagg. So he had 30 people waiting when he opened the door. He's like, guys, the truck doesn't even come till 2:00. So then he had another crowd at 2:30 and just got E.H. Taylor single barrel. Of course, all the entitled people were pissed that they waited around. It's like, I never said I just said we're getting some good stuff. And he's one of those honest owners. Love him to pieces.
And he thinks he's going to have like 30 bottles of it too. That's kind of
he just doesn't know what actually is amazing versus good versus pretty average. And he's so honest about it, and his prices are always, perfect retail prices. Just a great guy. He just didn't know. It was an unfortunate situation where people just, their eyes got bigger, as soon as they saw something and dreamed big. And then once people start talking about it, how gossip spreads with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what. So Sean Weisinger just said Houston Bourbon Society just hit 2,000 yesterday. But oddly enough, I'm actually in Houston Bourbon Society just because of the Facebook group. There's actually a lot of good information on there that Wade puts out. So I'm always kind of just reading on there. And Michael Urato also put out, because this actually just happened. I think it was in Alabama. People were camping out for 3 days at the ABCs because they just had their.
Are you serious already?
Well, it was released this morning. People started camping out Friday night after they close, and then they open again on Monday.
That's insane.
Yeah, I was actually in Alabama this weekend, and I wanted to drive by a store just to see if there were people camping out, but didn't make that trip, which they had a big problem a couple of years ago. People driving in from basically every state, just picking it up. So now I think I remember that story.
You have to have an Alabama license now?
Yeah, Alabama license, because some jerks were making the 16-hour drive to camp out. But didn't you only get like Old Forester birthday bourbon or something? What was it, Kenny?
I got a William Llewellyn and 6 Old Forester birthday bourbons. Right.
Okay,
so
that's worth
still worth it.
That works.
All right. Enough embarrassing old stories. So let's go ahead and let's get into some of the recent news. So the folks at Diageo slid in a brand new orphan barrel release called Entrapment, which is a 25-year Canadian whiskey. And thankfully, we have one guy here tonight that bit the bullet and said, I will go and buy a bottle of this and do a live review on the show. So, Carrie, man, it is now your time to shine.
I did this for y'all, by the way. I was filled with regret all day today. It's like the name was true. It was Entrapment. Like, I felt like I had to freaking buy the bottle just to be the only person that actually opens the stuff and tries it. So I actually saw it. The first picture of it ended up on secondary markets. That's how I actually found out about it. I had no idea. Of course, Diageo cut me off last year after my review of Poop and Holler, which rightfully so. I mean, I don't really blame them. That was probably the worst release I've ever tried besides the White Corn Woodford Reserve. But
shout out Brown Foreman.
But they've actually, the last releases have been really good. So it just was one bad release. So it says, entrapped in weathered oak barrels inside the Gimli Distillery, home of Crown Royal Canadian whiskey, this 25-year-old Canadian whiskey masterpiece has been looking to make its escape. Aromas of vanilla, toffee, and toasted oak abound in this delicate whiskey. The palate offers a smooth and creamy texture with hints of walnut and tobacco, escaping to a warm finish of dried fruit, basically describing any rye whiskey you may ever have. And the proof is
Go
interesting.
ahead and start cracking it open. We'll ask a few questions for you here too.
Well, I got to finish my killing card and clean it out. So keep talking while I get prepared here.
Well, what was the retail price on it?
What? $159.99. I decided to go with that cognac thing, Max.
Nice. That stuff is good.
It's good as hot. It was
it'll get you.
$159.
So
it's funny that cough was timed with the retail price. There was a perfect timing there.
That's what it was. And I guess I'll throw this out to the other guys while he's sitting there getting himself a new glass set up. So I guess, Nick, I mean, in today's market, when somebody is like, it's like $159, I mean, are in something that, whether it's Orphan Barrel, whether it's something else, like how quick are you to pull out your credit card and say, yep, immediately I'll buy it?
Well, think of all the different stuff that's coming out right now. What's the one thing you can't just do? You can't just go barrel finish. You can't just go mix a couple things together. What can't you just do?
Well, I mean, you got FOMO, right? So you have to
time. Right to time. I mean, it's 25 years. You can't just go do that. So that, I think, really creates that enticement for people to say, this is something you don't see pop up that often. There's really not much, if anything, with an age statement like that, that's that kind of price. I mean, you almost feel like you have to buy it.
Mm-hmm. And Kerry, what was the proof on it as well?
82.
82 proof.
How light?
I mean, here you got an 82 proof that Kerry's going to tell us in a minute, but it's probably not fantastic. I mean, I'm sure there's $30 bottles out there that are better, but you got to say it's enticing when it's within that affordability range, and it's something that you're just not going to see every day.
You're not going to see it every day, and you hope when it's so new, you hope that it actually is something decent.
You do. You have hope for it. I mean, it's almost like you have to. Just like you said, the name is very fitting. It's like you need to give it a try. You see it on there, you're going to grab it because you don't know if you're going to get another chance to get it if you see it on the shelves.
Is Gimli the distillery that all the Crown private picks came from?
Yeah, they make Crown, right?
Yeah, I thought that was like kind of the special little. I could be wrong now.
I mean, Maxwell, I'll ask you a question. So when you look at Orphan Barrel and what they've been doing, I mean, a lot of these are pretty low proof releases. I mean, I don't know if there's been anything that's been over like 98 proof. Do you think that has anything to do with? I don't want to say it's their way to extend a barrel's life to be able to push more bottles of it. It could be, but I mean, in a market where we have a lot of people that really want more high proof stuff, do you think they're hitting their target market by having these lower proof bourbons out there?
I think the main thing about Orphan Barrel, and to be honest, let me preface this by saying I'm not a huge fan of them at all. I think they proof it down because they're trying to mask what it is. Like the average, like you said, like where does a 25-year-old Canadian whiskey come from? Like if that really was something amazing that the people that made it would release it, then it would be some Crown Royal ultra premium $1,000 bottle, but it's not. And I think they go with the age statements, which are disappearing, which is honestly a good strategy. Like we were saying earlier, it's 25 years old. You don't see that. The rhetorics, you see a 23-year-old, a 22-year-old, you get the chance to compare a 21 to a 22 to a 23. I think it's really, really cool in theory. I just don't personally like the whiskey. So I don't really go for them anymore. I bought a couple early on. I think the Forged Oak, the 15-year one was okay. Gifted Horse was okay. I wasn't really a fan of rhetoric. I wasn't really a fan of much of the rest that I tried. But I do love the age statement. I love the bottles. They got great marketing. I'm just not a fan of the juice itself.
So, Kerry, go ahead and kind of tell us impressions. What are you getting?
Well, the first thing I smelled was like a shoe, like a leather shoe, and it
like the inside or the outside?
Like the inside, kind of like a warm leather shoe. And I tried going back to it, and it's kind of like every other whiff has it. And then sometimes it does smell like a nice rye, like almost like a baby Sazerac. Like there's definitely like a rye there, but occasionally it just smells like a leather shoe, and not like a delicious leather shoe, but like it's been left out in the sun after going fishing kind of leather shoe. And I've taken a couple sips, but now I really feel like now the palate is ready to experience the 25-year rye.
Here's the moment of truth, everyone.
I want a Sean Connery, or wasn't Sean Connery in the movie Entrapment? Can we get an IMDb check on that? If so, I want.
Say it again, Kerry.
It sucks. It's like I don't taste anything more than like a watered down Crown Royal that maybe is 2 years old. I mean, how do you taste 25 years in this? There's so much water in it.
I was gonna say, do you think it's a side effect of the being only 82 proof?
I mean, it's like 2.5 years. It's not bad. It's not horrible. Like Hoop and Holler was light years worse than this. But I know what aged ryes taste like, and this doesn't taste anything like an aged rye. It just tastes like a smooth Crown Royal that's been watered down for a while. Like you left it on ice, and all of a sudden you come back to it. You forgot it's over there in the corner, or you woke up the next morning and you're like, oh, let me finish my Crown.
Does Canadian whiskey have a higher entry proof than American? Like I know like a lot of the European, I'm a bourbon guy, so I don't really know all the foreign stuff. But is that true with Canadian as well, that they go in at a much higher entry proof? So that if it comes down to 80, then that really is like most.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. You think 25 years, it's got to be at least up to 140 proof or so. I mean, I guess it all depends, but say even 120 to bring it down to 82.
Yeah,
what's that? I'm gonna have to do math, like 50%.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah. Does it evaporate as much when it's freezing cold in Canada? Like you've got them in rack houses and you barely ever get summers.
That's true. It probably ages differently as well.
Yeah, the proof could definitely go down.
I mean, it's not horrible. Like it's definitely not the worst thing they've ever put out, but it is highly disappointing for saying 25 years on the front. Like it's drinkable. It's nice. You don't get, and the finish just dies so fast. It's like you get a little bit of flavor that's a smooth rye, and then, I mean, just gone after that. There's no, like I always compare stuff to like Sazerac 18, where that finish just goes on and on and on. It's just that oaky
finish,
caramel finish that just keeps going. And this is so thin. I mean, it's only 8 proof different from Saz 18. Saz 18 is only 90 proof, and it gives me that finish. This is only 8 away from it. I feel it's so much lighter. It just evaporates after you have a sip of it.
Z Hayden thinks that they're targeting the whiskey hype train right now, and that maybe they're just lowering the proof to maximize the number of bottles that they're putting out there. But he also said at least the Basil Hayden rye only charges $40 for being watered down.
Yeah, this is not good. This is not good in any way.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Bourbon Pursuit Roundtable for taking one for the team, Kerry.
That sucks, man. That was a lot of money for this shitty whiskey right here.
So everybody just get out their PayPal, do $1 to carry. We'll go ahead and
listen, there's a group that sells open bottles. I'm going to see you there later tonight, okay? Because somebody wants to try this.
The power
you'll sell it
compels you,
right?
Yeah.
You'll sell it.
$5 a sample. I bet you could get rid of it by the end of this roundtable.
Look, I'll be honest. Rhetoric 21 is still one of my favorite bourbons of all time. It was a perfect year for one of their orphan barrels. Lost Profit was great. They started out with a bang. I even thought the first batch of Barterhouse was different than the batch you buy now. I know they say it's the exact same thing.
No way.
I don't think it was.
It's changed. It's varied a little bit.
All their beginning stuff was really good. And then they fed into the hype, and they fed into the marketing, and they changed course. And everything in the past couple of years has just sucked.
Who's had Rhetoric 22? Anybody?
I've had it. Yeah, it was still good.
I had the first one.
That one I liked. I liked the 22 a lot. I was surprised by it.
I feel like Rhetoric 21 to me was a perfect drinkable bourbon at a great price point. And then, which is why you still hold on hope that they're going to come back with something at some point. But they, like I said, they don't care about the drinker. At that point, it just became, let's market and let's make money. They
just entrap you.
They did. They trapped me, and I had no hoop and holler tonight. That's for sure. This was not a gifted horse to anybody.
I was about to say, I was like, these names are getting a little more funny.
This was an old blowhard right here.
Yeah, it's like they're making fun of the serious bourbon drinkers now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the joke is on us at this point.
I'll tell you why.
I bet we could just call one Entrapment and they'd still buy it for $160.
Michael Urato says, I predict Entrapment will be Jim Murray's Whiskey of the Year in 2018. I think there is some truth. There could be some truth to that.
Whoever gets to his pocket.
I will say that the secondary market on Entrapment doesn't exist right now. which is surprising to me. And maybe it's a state of the general market, like the market as a whole, which to me has been going stale a little bit. But you see Entrapment, like there was the second bottle posted on secondary sites went for just barely, I mean, not even double retail, which was surprising for this release. But I guess, so my bottle number is 14,092. So it is not as rare as the store tells me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the Kentucky Owl Rye. The same thing happened with that.
I know, but it's so good.
Kentucky Owl Rye is very
But there's a lot of it.
There is a ton of it, but it's so good. I love
And
it.
you know, the great thing,
we liked it. I like it. That's good stuff. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying everybody thought it was super rare, and then now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
and
Agreed.
not only that is they're going to have 2 releases of it a year, right? So
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of it that's going to be out there,
It'll
which is
be
okay.
back.
It's actually, I agree. It's a fantastic rye. We'll maybe next roundtable we'll discuss what our whiskeys of the years, but that already ranks pretty highly in my book. So
That's good stuff. Yeah, let's move on to another subject. I'm bitter now.
I'm saying that only because I saw that Dixon had put out the press release that Stoli is building this new park, and I'm just trying to get a Bourbon Pursuit building named after me. So
Yeah,
that's
park looks amazing. It looks really good.
if not,
Bourbon
maybe,
Pursuit, Lazy River.
there you go.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe a water slide or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Super fly water slide.
Yeah, that looks really good. This looks cool what they're doing there.
Now we're on to something.
That actually is part of news, right? That's one of our news items is the Stoli Kentucky Owl Park there.
We could talk about it. I mean, I think it is recent news. I think it is cool. With what the kind of money infusion that's going into it, I think that the amount of bourbon that they're going to be putting out is going to triple or quadruple in the next few releases because of how much he's able to buy. I'm very happy to kind of see what happened with the rye. This was a huge release. Like, it is everywhere. It's almost in every damn state across the country, it feels like. But I think there hasn't been many people that have said it's bad. Right now, I will say it is a tough pill to swallow when you have anywhere between $109 to $160 of just being retail, right? But it is a good rye.
It's a great rye. I think it's awesome. There was rumor, I don't want to have false rumors spread, but there was a rumor that they took whatever source Michter's had for their 10-year rye. Do y'all know anything or heard anything about that?
No, you're just full of rumors though.
that.
No,
Do
I
it.
haven't. But the rumor I heard was Barton. But which makes sense when you taste it. And then I think Michter's is probably Brown Foreman, but I could be wrong about that too.
I agree with the bourbon at least. I definitely taste Brown Foreman.
Dave?
All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll move on to the next piece of this. So there's another kind of slippery release that was out, and that was Jefferson's that released their 16-year presidential selection. I'd actually heard about this probably a little bit over a year ago when we interviewed Trey Zollard on the podcast, and he was talking about there going to be a new presidential release. And honestly, I completely forgot about it. I did not get invited to the media day here in Louisville to go and try it. But it is, I don't know if they're up to another kind of fun marketing play on it by calling it Twinwood, where they said where Trey Zollard takes an 11-year bourbon and rebarrels it in a freshly charred oak for another 5 years, which this is, kind of a similar, I mean, it's not a new thing. Everybody's kind of sitting there experimenting, doing this with inside of whiskey. I mean, that's what Kentucky Owl does. I just thought it was interesting that for a presidential selection, something that is pretty highly regarded inside of the bourbon world, especially on secondary markets, when you have the 18, the 21, 23, 25 years, that he would go and try to do a kind of, I don't want to say a gimmicky release, but a kind of a finished-ish kind of release instead of just a good solid 11-year or 16-year bourbon.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Actually, I was trying to pull up the post on Bourboner, but I talked with him a little while ago, and he had told me there was going to be a 20-year presidential release, and then it never happened. And then all of a sudden this popped up, and I guess it was distillery only. And so I don't know if it's going to make its way to the rest of the markets now, but I don't know. That seems to be in Jefferson's kind of MO to do all these different finishes. And so if you ran out of Stitzelweller bourbon, you got to work something new into the Presidential Select branding. So, it'll be interesting to taste, but
does it say what state it's distilled in before you finished it?
It is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Yep.
So Barton or Heaven Hill?
Don't know. You'll never know.
16-year though from Kentucky.
Yeah, well, you figure he got it 5 years ago.
It was 11. So he can put.
So it was 11. Yeah. So
okay.
It could have been from a lot of places 5 years ago, to be honest. And most of their, I guess they're solely ADI at this point for their own stuff. But I don't know. Has anybody tried it?
I haven't. I do know that there will be 10,000 bottles that'll be available at an MSRP of $199. It will be around the country. $199.
Why is everything $159 to $199 every single thing except Buffalo Trace, who's like, we don't care, we're not going to overprice.
Well, I think that's just the nature of the market right now. I mean, how many times have we talked about it, and especially with about what's happening going on right now in the releases? Everybody's kind of hoping that they do raise their prices so that the retailers can't take as much in their pockets, right? And they have to kind of sell it at a reasonable price. And at these prices, I mean, I don't know. You might start seeing some people exit the market, or some people that just are going to pass over it, and therefore it's only going to go to those people that can afford it, or that really want it, or that have the amount of FOMO that Carrie talks about.
Why does everyone have to release in September, October, November? Why can't there be more than just Buffalo Trace putting out the seasonal E.H. Taylor in April? Like, space the shit out a little bit. Why do we have to go bankrupt in November?
It's hard on my wallet.
I like it because after this, like, I can relax for a year, and then I'll have to go chase and hunt anymore. So I like the one time of the year that I can save up, just go crazy, and then like, okay, I'm done for like 6-7 months now.
But if you're Orphan or your Jeffersons, wouldn't you be like, man, let's hit the market when it's kind of low and people want something exciting to talk about?
No, because you got a lot of people out, and then stores can say, well, I wasn't able to get you a Stag, but I did get you an Entrapment, so here's one for $200.
And it's aged 25 years. Holy shit.
And that's really 2 years past the Pappy.
Really, at the end of the day, it's the distributor to the store, right? Because the stores are the ones who are ultimately buying it first. Right, so distributors to stores, the stores all want the Pappy BTAC. Distributors can push this other stuff onto them. They know they've got people lined up for all this stuff. They want to give it to them, so they're going to buy it. They're going to take the risk. They're going to hold the cards. So they're taking all the chance. The retailers are taking all the chance on whether or not this stuff sells.
And the in-between stuff, it's distributors and the retailers that are.
I got to give the retailers credit. I mean, I think the distributors get left out of the conversation a lot of the times. I mean, the retailers really are the ones that are dealing with the consumers who are, in a lot of cases, crazy over this stuff. Hunting around, calling like crazy. They get so many calls a day, and they get 5 bottles, 10 bottles. Depending how big they are. The retailers really have, I think, the most juggling to do in the market, and then they're the ones who are really buying all this stuff and taking the risk on it, which it may or may not sell. I mean, what was Jefferson's 21? Was that back in, I saw that on the shelves back in 2013. That was 120, I want to say. And that was around, it was out for a while. If you wanted it, you could find it at least here in New York. Now this Jefferson's, I'm not sure if we'll really see it hit the shelf. I think they're going to have enough people they can put it off on who are hunting for Pappy and BTAC and don't get it.
It's coming any day. And it's in the Atlanta. So it should be here any day.
The 16th?
Yeah, the 16th. I'll probably pick one up just to take the hit for everybody, and I'll next round by the 16th, and I'll just go bankrupt when I'm trying all these finished gimmicky whiskeys. Although I will sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kerry.
I was gonna say I did try for $39.99. I saw that who was it that had the sherry cask finish?
Bowman.
No, it wasn't Bowman. It wasn't
the Bowman?
A brand you don't hear all the time, but it's $39.99. It was a sherry cask finish.
Bellmead?
No, it's like pepper.
James Pepper.
James Pepper.
I actually thought their sherry rye cask finish is awesome. Like, it is a really, really good finished.
I saw it terrible, but it was on Bourbon, or somebody was saying it was terrible, but I haven't tried it yet.
It's good. It's got a nice sherry finish. Is it rye or bourbon? I can't remember.
I believe it's rye.
I think it's a rye.
It's a great finish, and it's only $39.99. It's on every shelf in Atlanta. Nobody knows about it. It's one of those things where you got to take a chance on every stuff.
Yeah, actually, I had the Belmead sherry cask finish the other day, and it was really good. That's one that gets overlooked because they're kind of producing several different cask finish and everything. And actually, their new distillate was really good too. So that's another subject, but
it's like the Waylands just came out with their barrel proof, which is sitting here in Atlanta. It's just, a lot of the products don't have the name that the other ones do. And I mean, there's so much good stuff. You got to wade through all the bull crap to figure out what's actually good.
I think there's going to be a lot of bull crap that's going to be out there. That's for sure. But I mean, I was just sitting there kind of reading some of the comments, Carrie, when you were talking about, is whether if, why don't Jefferson's or anybody else wait till a different month? Somebody said because everybody's, Larwood 91 said it's because everybody's too focused on Blake's maps right now. Speakeasy Wisconsin said that Four Roses also jumped their shark on pricing. Last year, 2016 small batch limited edition was about $80. This year, it's like 150, 125. So it just everybody's just kind of going up and up. So it's just going to be a common thread. I think that we're going to have to just kind of deal with now. I think that's okay though. It's a market of supply and demand, and right now the demand is high. So go ahead and Uber does it. They do surge pricing. Yeah, sure. We complain. We can wait 20 minutes, but we're not going to wait 15 years to buy a bottle of bourbon, right? So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to suck it up. If you want it, then that's what you have to do.
Matt, what it is.
What's your take on like the surge pricing? Do you think it's still has it hit its plateau, or do you think it's still underway?
I think it's underway, but like just earlier we were talking about the last couple secondary bottles, like the Kentucky Owl Rye. We all agree that's great, but there's no secondary for it because it's already $130. Mm-hmm. So maybe we are moving in at least a little bit of the right direction. I mean, the Entrapment is shit. We all know that shit. That's why there's no secondary for that. But the Owl Rye, I think, is a good example. Even, we were talking about the Four Roses limited edition. That price has gone up. People are talking, I think we scored one for like 99, but that's rare. I've seen it 140, 150. Secondary is right at 200. It's only $50 more. Whereas a lot of the other things, we're seeing a lot more of an increase. So maybe, idealistically, maybe we're working in the right direction. I don't think we're there yet, but I think maybe we're getting there.
Yeah. I think one positive thing, when I'm at work, I run a lot of IT stuff that has to run and compile, and Kenny, this stuff. That leaves me a little window to do something on the side. So sometimes I'll just check out the bourbon secondary market. I think the market has gone stale, and I don't know if it's a seasonal thing or if it's just a general statement. But, if you look hard enough and follow it long enough, the market in general, I think, has gotten a little bit stale. And I think that's good news for all of us who have been around bourbon for a while and want to stay in bourbon. I think it's a positive sign for the market to start to die down. I just don't know how much of that is, people are so focused on their local hunts that they're not sitting on the secondary boards, or they don't have any money right now because they're, it's happy season. But I think it's starting to trend in the right direction. I hope it's a long-term trend and not a short-term one.
The thing that's hard to put into perspective is the actual volume, because you're still seeing BTAC, you're still seeing Pappy, especially going for multiples of MSRP. But what's the actual volume of that relative to everything that's out there? I mean, are we looking at 5% of the transactions, 10% of the transactions? What is it? There's no measurement for that because everything happens, on sites where you can't really trace it.
Yeah.
And there's so many different sites anyway. So which one do you base as the baseline?
I think that's one. I think we'd all agree there's one now. That's kind of the main.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's definitely one that's bigger than the rest. There's no dispute there.
So I'll take like an opposite stance on there, and I still think the secondary market is live and flourishing. And I think we saw, we had talked about earlier today, or earlier this table, talking about people that keep asking the same questions over and over again. And this is kind of going back to an article that Blake put out this past week, and it was Carrie and Blake. You guys did some sleuthing and talked to Buffalo Trace because Pappy Van Winkle's 15 this year. It looks a little bit different than what we've been accustomed to. So I'll let one of you guys kind of talk about that real quick too. Of recent,
I broke it, so I guess I'll talk about it. Sorry, Blake. So what's awesome to me is that a company like Buffalo Trace will admit when they've made a mistake, and it took a couple days. The Pappy Van Winkle 15 this year has red foil instead of its normal black foil, and they have admitted that it was just a mistake. I think they may have gotten everything lined up, and because there's no Van Winkle rye, I think they may have used the red foil for Van Winkle rye. They didn't go into detail on it, but Pappy Van Winkle 15 this year has red foil by mistake. And they're like, yeah, we screwed it up. We used the wrong foil. And it's just one of those things that's cool about Buffalo Trace is they're pretty open about that kind of stuff. They keep the pricing down. I still think it's going to make it a little bit more collectible, but I mean, there's also a lot of it this year. So anyway, that's the whole red foil escapade.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show you how little of a percentage these kind of releases are for a distillery like Buffalo Trace. Something like the wrong foil goes on there, and maybe they did know before it actually hit the market, but the press release and everything had the black foil on the 15-year, and then it seemed very reactive. So makes me think that it was just like, oh, it did go out. So, that's probably a half a day of bottling whenever they're bottling tens of thousands of bottles of everything else.
Yeah.
The other 364 days out of the year. So, and just to kind of touch on the secondary market as well, I do tend to agree with Kenny a little bit here. Maybe we've leveled off a little bit, but I still don't see it slowing down nearly as much. Maybe in our own lives, we start to care a little bit less, but it still seems like those prices growing higher and higher every day. And it may plane off, but I don't see it ever dropping down. I don't ever see Pappy 15 going for less than about $800 on the secondary market. Now,
last year, maybe. Well, this year,
yeah,
50, but 23 has stayed stable and maybe even starting to come down a little bit. So I think you have a trend of lower tier bottles, lower tier rare bottles that more people are getting tend to see a price increase, and the more rare exclusive bottles are maintaining, if not dropping. Max or Nick, what do you think?
Well, I think there's a possibility that price going up is representative of fewer coming to market, or at least fewer coming to market, obviously relative to the demand for those bottles. If BTAC is going for $700-800 a bottle, whatever that is, I mean, you just got to think, how bad does somebody want it to pay that? So how many bottles are coming out to that market? Because there's no legal place really to do that, or at least not easily, outside of auctions and things like that. So, if you want it that bad, especially if you're a bar or restaurant, I mean, you're going to be able to turn on and still make a profit in a lot of cases, even if the price is high. So you're still going to buy it. So it's definitely, I think, still there. Whether or not there's more people, or we're just seeing an increase in price, or whatever the case might be, it's really tough to speculate on that.
Right. So I want to kind of move on. We give Pappy way too much talk on this. We're part of the damn problem. You guys realize that, right?
We are the problem.
We just really perpetuate it.
It really is. So I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. I was going to try to make a transition because Blake, you
Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point of sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in-line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon. If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription.
So I want to kind of move on. We give Pappy way too much talk on this. We're part of the damn problem. You guys realize that, right?
We are the problem.
You just really perpetuate it.
It really is. So I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. I was going to try to make a transition because Blake, you had deemed this the Christmas Pappy. I believe this was what you called it, or something
Santa Claus Pappy,
or Santa Claus Pappy. Yeah, the 15 this year. So
trying to trademark that since I missed out on poor man's Pappy.
So this is the one time of the year, we're going into the holiday season, and I don't like to consider myself a bourbon connoisseur, but family members, they probably consider you all bourbon connoisseurs. And you kind of have this obligation, if you will, to bring a few bottles over to share with your family during the holidays. So what are some of those, Max, I'll give you let you have a first shot at this. So what are some of those bottles that you bring to have your family sample out? Maybe they're not unicorns, or maybe they are. I mean, what do you typically bring for the holidays?
That's actually a good question, because I just recently got my dad into bourbon, just over the past year or two. Growing up, he drank nothing ever, and then now he's got 12 bottles of bourbon. He texted me a picture the other day of 3 Weller 12s sitting on the shelf. He's doing his hunting thing. He's doing pretty well. But before then, I would have said store picks all day long. I would have brought an Eagle Rare store pick, an OWA store pick, and maybe an Elijah Craig barrel proof or something if somebody wanted the higher proof. It's all good. Nothing's going to break my bank. Nothing's, I'm not going to be super pissed off if somebody mixes an Eagle Rare store pick, whatever is $35. It's not the end of the world. But if somebody wants to pull out a Glencairn and have a drink of whiskey and get technical about it, you can enjoy any of those glasses of whiskey.
Nick, what about you, man?
Yeah, I gotta say it's good. I think good advice from Max. I will kind of add to that I guess with the right people, I'm not bashful about taking out whatever the good stuff, the expensive, the hard to get stuff, whatever. Yeah, I feel like that's the kind of thing that I don't really get out that often. I'm not drinking it myself usually alone. I don't have people over a lot. I have 2 kids, so life is very busy, so very few nights we're, hanging out with a lot of adults, that kind of a thing, without kids around. So, I do like to get out those, the BTACs and, the Elijah Craig 20 year, things like that, and kind of give somebody something they've maybe heard about and, have some appreciation, somebody that is going to sip it neat. Obviously, I think that can be a lot of fun. If I'm going to bring a bottle or bring bottles and they're just going to sit somewhere and people are going to have at it, obviously those are going to be, I think, more kind of go towards the standard stuff, the things that I think everyone's going to like, be it a Four Roses small batch or something like that. It's funny because with the wrong crowd, the good stuff has gone.
Exactly. It's pointless.
They try Thomas H. Handy and they're like, oh, I can't even, it's disgusting. Well, if you don't really drink that much, you're not going to like it, so you want to be careful. You don't, I guess, kind of ruin their experience, but also kind of waste some good whiskey on, a situation where somebody's not going to want it or appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And kind of talk about with kids. I think kids are kind of the reason why we still drink right now, right?
Well, so for me, like, there is nothing greater than pouring something really nice for my dad or my brother who take a sip and they're like, what the hell is this? And they ask for the Coke and they pour it. I don't care at all. I mean, it's all about, making memories with this stuff. And my brother has started to, come into whiskey a little bit more. And I had some of that Dickel 17 back when George Dickel released it. He loves it. He's like, give me another bottle of that Dickel 17. I don't care how they drink it. I just want them to enjoy it. I want them to feel good at Thanksgiving. And to me, it's just whiskey. And so I love to pour it for friends and family and everybody. Drink whatever the hell you want. I don't care. Did you say gifts yet, or are we waiting on the gifts part?
We'll do that next.
Okay.
Next.
Spoiler.
Yeah. I was going to say for me, I'm kind of with Carrie. I get a little more enjoyment from giving somebody a really sought after, expensive bottle who could care less about bourbon or anything that would never listen to this bourbon community roundtable, but yet you're like, hey, here, try, George T. Stagg, you'll love it. Like, oh, this is pure gasoline. Which something about that just gives me a little more pleasure than the guy who has, drank bourbon twice and is like, oh yeah, it's very oaky and cherry, and like, okay, but I typically bring a lot of sample bottles too, just to give people different ideas of what's out there. I've been taking Kentucky Owl Rye with me a lot. I know we've talked about that several times. I was kind of looking on my shelf here. Just a mix. I've actually been toting several bottles of rum with me to different parties recently as well. But I like to mix it up, give somebody a rye, give them a high rye bourbon and maybe a wheated bourbon and say, okay, here's kind of what you should be tasting, that kind of thing. It's always fun to drink with people you enjoy being around no matter what. So
I got a question for you, Blake. So when you bring out those sample bottles, does your family look at you like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, what's
No. I only get invited to these places because they know I'm going to bring 2 Lululemon bags of bourbon bottles and whiskey bottles and everything else. I've basically figured out that's my plot in life is was going to my sister-in-law's birthday the other day, and I texted my brother. I'm like, hey, we need to bring anything. He's like, just probably something to drink. I'm like, okay, I know what that means.
Is that also your official Roundtable gear? Is that you put on your Lululemons before we start recording?
Yeah. No. I do some air squats, little stretching, get my Lululemon shorts on.
Gotta get prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a pretty funny comments that were happening. So Chris Haynes says that Carrie needs to give his dad and bro the Entrapment. So,
I know, I totally am. That's a great idea. Dad, brother, I got 25-year whiskey.
You're gonna love
it. Everything my dad tries, though, he says it tastes like cognac. It's great. It's like a good cognac. So maybe we're missing out on the whole cognac market.
Perhaps. And then Michael R said, you gotta implement decoy bourbons as well. So they put out like the makers in Woodford for the crowd, and then bring the good stuff by the fire for people that can hang. So that's a pretty good idea. For me, I think it's kind of amusing how the family almost wants to turn into a little bit more of a connoisseur when they're drinking with me, right? I'll bring like 9 or 10 Glencairns with me, and I'll pour them out, and they don't sit there and ask for ice or whatever. They try and drink it as the way I'm drinking it. So it seems like they're trying to get into it and trying to appreciate it as much, which is always cool. Usually, I always bring at least like 1 or 2 bottles of something that they're never going to be able to try. Otherwise, usually it's just a lower Van Winkle or something like that, just so they can say that they've had it. It's always one of those good things that when you can spoil them a little bit, that's always a good thing to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
So to transition to our last segment of the night, Carrie already kind of gave it away, but I talked at the very beginning, and the Christmas season is slowly approaching, and we are getting into this. I chose this episode to start doing the Christmas presents because, usually November, the day after Thanksgiving or even at Thanksgiving is usually when people put out their lists and you have to swap names and then you go back and then you got a month to go and find everything. And then our December podcast is going to be too far away. So I said, this is going to be a good one to do. So what I told the guys to do is I told them to do a little bit of research today and kind of figure out and we didn't share anything beforehand. So this is all going to kind of be, who knows, there might be some overlap. There might be, some shameless and selfless plugs, which is always appreciated around here. And then, we're going to kind of see what are those top gifts ideas for a bourbon person. It could be bottles, it could be ice molds, it could be clothing, it could be all those different things. So anybody that's out there listening right now is trying to think of ideas of what maybe they want or ideas that they can give to somebody else. Here's your opportunity to hear a few different things. So I will let whoever wants to go first kind of just go ahead and run with it.
Max is first.
All right.
That's called your punishment for only having number 2 on your belt right here.
Drinking water. Come on, Max. Get you some bourbon.
He's been drinking bourbon. I've been drinking.
Here's a shameless plug. Shameless plug.
There you go.
Buy one of these. But no, seriously, I actually did look into it, and as soon as you told me that, I thought of this video. And I watched it. I saw it was one of those Facebook things. We all like bourbon stuff, so Facebook shows us bourbon stuff. And it was for the Phantom Ice Maker. I don't know if you guys saw this. It was a Wintersmith thing. They make regular clear ice makers, and they actually work pretty freaking well. But this one's like massive, and it's stainless steel. And instead of making one ice ball that you can drink by yourself, it actually makes like 7. But I looked into it, and it's still on Kickstarter, so you're not going to get it by Christmas. But it's still really cool.
I actually bought one of those on Kickstarter. Like this Phantom one, I got in one of the early bird pricing on, I think on like the third tier one or whatever it is.
It was only like, what'd you pay? It was only like $80 or $90 at the beginning, and I looked, and now it's already up to like $125.
Yeah, I think the early bird pricing sold out in less than 6 hours. It went fast.
Yeah, it looks really cool though. So let us know when you get it.
Yeah, I will. It is pretty cool. I saw it. So anybody else that's into ice molds and stuff like that, this is probably one of the better ones you're ever going to find out there for doing it at home. It does something like a top to bottom freezing technique that like pushes out air bubbles and all this other kind of stuff. And you actually get crystal clear ice cubes from just your regular tap water. Instead of having to go and get
it works really, really well. I bought one of the cheaper ones from like Crate and Barrel or something, and it's like the same concept, and it didn't really work at all. But these ones, Wintersmith, they're big things, and they do exactly that. They like insulate it so it freezes. And I don't use ice that often, honestly. Mostly it's for guests or my fiance's been drinking on the rocks a little bit here and there, so I'll give her the fancy ice. But they just look cool.
So what's next, man? I know we're running a little bit high on time right here, so let's go ahead and we'll try to run through these.
You're a jerk, Kenny. Max, congratulations, man. Have a great way. Listen,
thank you
to the fans or to the family and the fans who send us these 1,200 different varieties of ice molds and ice balls and metal that's in the shape of. You freeze it and it's metal. We really don't use ice. I mean, we might drop an ice cube in our cups, but really we're not going to use ice. And there was one time I had a Glencairn with one of those round balls in it and forgot that I was empty on the whiskey and just did one of these. And the ball hit the front of my tooth. Like the ice ball hit it and it hurt for like a freaking 30 minutes. It like hit the nerve up here. So
I hate those stones. I have a bunch of those stones, the rocks,
It still tastes rock at some point.
Yeah, it's a rock, man.
But
get that out of my whiskey.
I have never used it.
You never can get enough of cool glasses. Glencairn glasses are always awesome.
Yeah, the Norland glass is pretty cool.
If you give us a gift certificate to Total Wine or like any kind of liquor store where we can buy beer or liquor, it is the greatest gift you can give to us. Or cash.
I second that. Carrie's on the right track here.
The greatest gift for a bourbon drinker, just put a $50 bill. And that
I take back what I said.
We will love you forever with some cash.
All right. That's an easy cop out. Thanks, Carrie. That's a horrible idea. Who else has got some good Christmas list ideas?
Well, I was going to say, I think for the right price, Carrie will come to your house with a few bottles from his selection and entertain for hours.
I actually will. You can hire me. I'll put on the clown outfit, whatever you want.
If I get that for Christmas, I'll be happy.
Personalized tasting with Bourbon Pursuit.
We could do that.
The thing that's kind of cool, I've actually never gotten one, but people have talked about it. And I think for somebody that wants to try a lot of different things, maybe, Canada, I've heard good things, is the bourbon advent calendars from Master Malt. They used to have like a whiskey, like a whole whiskey thing. It was all kinds of different whiskeys. And they've since kind of made different ones. So you can get just the bourbon one, or just, I think there's just the Scotch one, just, that kind of a thing. So I think for somebody that, we can't do that over here. In the U.S., you really can't divide up, bottles like that, like they do, and put them in those smaller containers and get that many samples. You get a lot of samples of different things in there. I think there's supposed to be a few kind of more rare, special ones. But if you listen to what Bourbon Pursuit podcast was it with the high volume online retailers, I think they shared that really that's illegal. So it's just the fact that no one knows that we're buying stuff from internationally, that we're still able to do it. So it's like, get it while you can type of thing. But I think that's kind of a cool idea. And I will say that I got to kind of jump on with Carrie in that, the idea that you're into bourbon or into whiskey, that, everybody thinks so. Like if it has something to do with bourbon or whiskey, they're going to like it. It just has a name on it, some like random thing. The chance of that happening is probably pretty small. There's maybe a few things you might be into, but yeah, I think by and large, actually a bottle of some kind is usually, a safer bet. And sometimes a bottle that's maybe something that you wouldn't buy or wouldn't find, but not necessarily rare, not the stuff of maybe something craft or just unique to an area or something that's kind of obscure, is kind of fun to get. I like to get bottles that I wouldn't necessarily buy myself, but they're available, generally speaking. Those are kind of fun because I never pull the trigger.
Right. We don't buy the regular stuff usually on the shelf. So sometimes we find gems,
I think I got a bottle of
you don't feel bad opening it right there. So
yeah. That's
right. I
right.
think I got a bottle of Hill Rock Estate Bourbon. And it's just like a $90 bottle. And my wife got it for me. And something it's a craft bourbon. It's got kind of mixed reviews, but it's something I was always curious about. How much I liked it, but it's pulling the trigger $90 on a bottle like that, kind of hard to do. So getting it is like, I'm kind of excited about that.
Find us this and buy us this.
That's Midwinter's Night Dram is what he's talking.
$90 bottle right there.
Yeah. Is that the new one, the 5?
Yeah, exact 5.
I have not had the 5 yet. I need to go get one.
They're all good. They're all
they're great.
Winter whiskeys is what they are.
It lives up to its name.
So back to basics, or back to the shopping list here. Who else has Blake? We haven't touched on you yet, man. Yeah. Kind of talk about what are some of those gifts that you could get a whiskey drinker that's in your life.
I thought we were just supposed to give this to our friends and family, what they should buy us for Christmas. So I don't know if this will be for all whiskey drinkers, but no. So I was kind of going with like some of my other hobbies, but so Vintage Gentleman, a guy here local in Jacksonville, he's doing a coffee bourbon barrels or bourbon barrel aged coffee, which was really cool. So I wanted to check that out. That was on my list. And then another guy, check him out on Instagram, Boot Hill Blades. I'm trying to talk him into making a bourboner knife. We haven't gotten that yet. So chef's knife also really cool, especially if you can get it with a bourbon stave handle. The third one, I would have to go with just some kind of bottle or glass, some kind of, or those have been used. Let's go with decanter. Everyone needs a good decanter in their life. So
that's true.
I feel like that's
Travis Roberts just said that. He said an engraved decanter and tasting or rock glasses. Like that's the way. It's a good gift right there.
You can get a custom engraved Glencairn for like $20 or something.
Mhm.
Just put the person's name on it, send it to them. We'll love it.
Yeah. Catch 22 put the Bellmead 375 sampler. I actually got to try those, so that was a really cool thing. I thought that was
I didn't know they made that.
Yeah, they did the half bottle, so that was probably a pretty good gift set for people. But yeah,
I'll take one of those, whoever's listening.
So this is like Secret Santa, where people send us gifts. We just announce them, or
We just tell them what we want, right?
that's how this works.
So I'll put out a few things too. So the three that I came up with, two of them are shameless because they are sponsors of the show, but I have to give them the credit where credit is due because honestly they're incredible. So everybody kind of likes chocolate, right? And so if you're looking, for something that's really good, I'm telling you guys, if you've never had Art Eatables before, you've got to try it.
When does the store open? Is the online store open yet?
The online store is opening here relatively soon.
I've been checking for like months since they were first on the show.
Well,
I love me some chocolate.
I can tell you right now, and this is something that they haven't really announced too much yet. It was on their Facebook page. So if you don't follow on Facebook, you don't know yet. But on Black Friday, they are doing their 12 Days of Bourbon. And this is their year release where they do premium bourbons, including the Pappies. So those are in there too. But there's things like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, Magnus Cigar Blend that's going to be going in there. And it's going to sell out on Black Friday. And shipping will begin on December 11th. So that's always a good one if you've got somebody that is into chocolate and into bourbon in their life. I'm telling you, it's awesome. Every single time there is a trade show going on here or anything like that, and Art Eatables is there, I'm like eating 3 pounds of it because it actually is delicious. They're better than any bourbon ball that you're going to try.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so those are fantastic, and they do ship, and they just start shipping here in the fall and the winter because, of course, you can't really ship chocolate too well during the spring and summer. The other one is, how many people here have ever tried the day drinking jerky? Has anybody actually ever tried that before?
Yes, of course. I was one of the first ones that knew John Day when he started that whole thing.
And what do you think?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing jerky.
I mean, that's what I thought too. It puts any other thing that you get at a gas station to shame. It's fantastic. The Sazmat has Sazmat. Wait, what? That's the one that I think is my favorite in the bourbon black pepper. Those two.
And the Sazerac, he has a Sazerac rye jerky that's, damn, it's so good.
Hazmat Saz teriyaki.
He home makes the stuff, and he doesn't have it just mass produced. Like he makes it at home and ships it out, and all of it is so damn good. The teriyaki Saz or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
make sure
I eat the whole pack in one night. So
yeah, it goes quick. So make sure you order. I think if you order 4, you get free shipping. So keep that in mind too. If you are going to order, it's fantastic. It's really good stuff. So you just go to daydrinkandjerky.com. And there's actually a Bourbon Pursuit code that you can get on our website to get some money off on your first order as well. And the last one, Blake had brought up, taking rum over to people's places. And I'd say you got to buy Fred Minnick's book and get him a bottle of Foursquare. You get him Rum Curious and a bottle of Foursquare for that whiskey lover in your life that maybe hasn't tried Foursquare yet or hasn't tried rum. And Blake's holding up the 2004 right now, which is a good entry rum for those bourbon drinkers because it is a barrel proof ex-bourbon cask. If they're not believers after that, then that's fine. You don't have to convince them anymore. But I think those are 3 really good gifts for somebody that's that likes bourbon in their life.
You have sold out, bro. You have sold your soul to the devil. Taking them bribes to sell that stuff. Me and Max, we just want cash. Give me the cash.
Listen, I'm telling you because I'm serious. Like it's really good stuff. When I talk about the Art Eatables and the beef jerky, I mean, I'm telling you, it's just they're just fantastic products.
He's sending you boxes, isn't he, behind the scenes?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I've got, stickers and all kinds. No, I honestly, it was. And not only that is, in all transparency, like when we talked about this, I didn't really even charge him that much to do this because I really wanted his company and his product to succeed because what he puts out is fantastic.
He is so good.
Yeah.
No, didn't you have eat it fast?
Didn't you have another guy on the podcast a long time ago who did like bourbon smoked salt and like soy sauce and bourbon pepper and like a bunch of other. Is that what it was? Bourbon Barrel Foods?
It is Bourbon Barrel Foods. They have the tagline. They have the tagline, "Eat your bourbon."
Yeah. I remember thinking that was really cool sounding, but same thing. It's something I would like never buy for myself. So maybe as a gift, I'm not going to spend $10 on salt, but if somebody buys it for me, that's pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool. Salt. I feel like salt, but
it's not. It's not.
Is bourbon salt better than salt?
Yeah.
Enlighten us.
It has to be. It's barrel aged. Everything barrel aged is better automatically.
I'll tell you, barrel aged coffee is fantastic. I mean, the good ones. I think Blake, you mentioned that. True. Barrel aged coffee is just phenomenal.
Go to thevintagegentleman.com to get your very own.
And I'm gonna jump in with Kenny too. I'm gonna do a shameless plug. We've got T-shirts available online right now. So everyone, you gotta stay warm, cool in winter, whatever you want to do. Get a bourbon T-shirt.
Is that a Breaking Bourbon T-shirt you have on there?
This is, we got a it's a bourbon thing.
Nice. Wow, what a coincidence.
Brand we're running with. So we're gonna be rolling out some different kind of more subtle kind of things with it. Some of them only bourbon geeks are gonna get, others maybe more people will get, but that's the idea.
I like it.
Thank you.
Good deal. So I'll just read a few more of them that are here in the comments. John Diamond said a Matthew McConaughey autograph bottle of Wild Turkey 101.
Now, I would pay for that if I got Matthew.
I'll take the Mila Kunis Jim Beam instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even want the bottle. Just a picture signed is fine with me.
Yeah, that'll work.
Because they just came out with their Vanilla Beam, and that's what she's been plugging. So I think I'll pass on that one. Let's see. Perfect Pour TV and WhiskeyThink.com said a subscription to Whiskey Advocate magazine, which if you're doing that, even the people that do GoBourbon.com and do the Bourbon Advocate magazine, that's a good one as well. Trying to think. Anything else that I missed, fellas? Kyle Anderson said Heaven Hill is a sample pack.
Yes.
Kind of forgot about that.
20 minutes ago. The Heaven Hill sample pack is a perfect gift because there's 5 thingies in it, and they look like test tubes, and we like test tubes.
Elaborate. I have not heard of this.
What's in that?
Yeah. What's in it?
It's there's fucking
there's there's Elijah Craig, there's Evan Williams, there is Larceny. I think Rittenhouse,
Castle and Key.
Oh, Pikesville's in there.
Old Fitzgerald 74.
No, you got Bernheim, Larceny, Evan Williams, single barrel, Elijah Craig, small batch, and Pikesville.
Yep.
Oh,
okay. And we can't finish the show unless we say it one more time. 22 Catch 22 says if you got to buy something and you can't get the bottle, Pappy Cigars. So there we go. We had to throw one more Van Winkle in there. So, fellas, I want to say thank you all again for joining the roundtable tonight. This is another good discussion. We went a little long-winded tonight, but that's okay. I want to let all you all give a plug one more time for your blogs or vlogs or Facebook comments of where you can be, Twitter, everything like that. Max, go ahead first, man.
It's Max Christie at Superfly Bourbon Club, Instagram, Facebook, and superflybourbonclub.com. You can also find me at the Tampa Bay Whiskey Society if you're in the Florida area. Don't have a Twitter, don't have a LinkedIn, don't have all those other things. So that's it for me.
Tumblr.
No Tumblr.
We're throwing out LinkedIn today.
Right?
MySpace.
My bourbon resume is on there. If anybody's in need of a taster, I am available in the continental United States.
All right, Nick, go ahead. You're up next.
Yeah, Nick.
Nick from Breaking Bourbon, one of 3 guys behind BreakingBourbon.com. You can follow us on social media.
The only
Twitter. What's that?
The only good one.
We're all good. So
shots fired.
So find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Breaking Bourbon. And if you want to support us, Patreon, we got a Patreon thing going. We're actually going to be shipping out the prizes coming up in December. We're doing kind of tasting kits, Glen Cairns tasting sheets we came up with, reusable tasting sheets. So check us out. We appreciate all the followers, all the supporters on Patreon. That's huge. I mean, I give those people huge credit for, giving us money to do what we do. I mean, we spend an insane amount of time on the website, and, it feels good to have people like kind of behind that and want to be involved in that. So just want to kind of say thank you to those folks too.
Absolutely. And I'll let you two Rochambeau for whoever wants to go last.
I'll go.
Right. So
let Carrie
go ahead and say at this time that Blake, go ahead. Go ahead, dude.
All right. I'm Blake from Bourboner.com. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I believe I do have a Tumblr. Trying to get the YouTube channel started. Check out the Bourboner blind tasting coming up next week, actually. You'll see a couple familiar faces and more familiar faces to come. So thanks for having us again, or me.
Absolutely. All right, Carrie.
Oh, is that me? Oh,
so I'm you, Entrapment.
This is Carrie. You just find me here every month, and you'll find me on Twitter. So, Nick, I was just kidding, man. Breaking Bourbon and Bourbonar are the definitive bourbon blogs. You guys kick ass on the HTML side, and then Kenny, you kick ass on the .mp4 side. You guys are honestly the three definitive blogs that I follow. And Max, I'm going to join superflybourbon.com, man. I mean, I feel like you and we have a thing going, and
Let's do it.
We're going to keep it up. But you can find me on Twitter if you're bored at @Bourbon_gamer. Usually I'm just talking trash, but I just want to say these other guys, you guys are rocking the house, constantly writing and keeping up with the bourbon world, even though I break a lot of secrets that you guys don't break. But,
you recycle Carrie's information.
I do, because I am first-hand secret breaker, but you guys put in the time and effort to make it look pretty when you send it back out. And you all are good dudes, so thank you for all your efforts and your work.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. We always appreciate you coming on
Thanks
here.
for the good words.
Yeah, we always need some good comedy relief too. So you're always a good you're always a good person to have here.
Wrap it up and let's give away samples.
So make sure you also follow us. Also, make sure you follow us on Facebook, because we are going to be having a Black Friday deal on the Bourbon Pursuit Facebook page. So make sure you go and you like us there and follow us there. It's going to be, as I said, Black Friday, so it'll be a one-day sale that we'll be having. And also Instagram and Twitter at Bourbon Pursuit. Also, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. There's also YouTube, Google Play. We're on pretty much every damn syndicate that's out there. So thank you, everybody that is supporting us also on Patreon, patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit. If you want to give us any show suggestions, you want to send us hate mail, but you don't want to send it directly to Carrie, you can send it to me and I'll relay it in a secret private message. It's the duo, THEDUO @bourbonpursuit.com. With that, fellas, thank you again for joining, and we will see you all next week.